I am Nathan Bourne, founder and CEO of My Core out of Annapolis, Maryland. It's difficult to sort of share this verbally without visuals for the very fact that this part of our brain, what is known as the limbic system, what we kind of refer to as the who and the why part of our brain, is the part of our brain that controls our emotions, and it's the part of our brain that controls our feelings. It's also the part of our brain that controls our behavior, our decision making. But here's where it gets really interesting. We in the limbic system of our brain, the actual core of our brain here, do not have the capacity for language. This is why it's really difficult. It's in fact impossible technically to share our feelings. So we say silly things. We say things like, I just knew in my heart that it was a good fit, or I just had this great gut feeling that, I should go in that direction. Well, that's silly. Your heart pumps blood through your body. Your stomach digests food. So you might want to think about what you ate for lunch that day before that decision. What's difficult about that is that when you're engaging with people, to answer your question, there aren't actually words. Literally, your brain does not have the capability to put into words to say things like, who are you? That'd be kind of a weird thing to say. And, well, I'm this or I'm that. So you sort of have to be poetic with it, the same way that music or poetry itself, art, is this limbic experience. So what's key is that you really just get to a state in that human interaction that you're connecting on a wavelength and in a way that's actually not logical. It's not pragmatic. It's the part of that existence that comes from within. So it's an interesting and difficult thing to try to calibrate or put analytics behind. You can't really quantify it, but you can qualify it, and you can say that just felt right. And then there's times when you can say that just didn't feel right, and it's not that person's bad or there's something wrong with them. It's just not a good fit. And if you don't sync up and you don't link up, you shouldn't really move very far forward. So what it comes down to though is just asking questions about things that matter, which is their belief systems. What do they believe about this? And at My Core, we have a real simple way to try to put it into words. And it's people are paramount. We believe at the core of everything that people are paramount. And ultimately we boil it down to that belief system. And if we engage with people that don't share that belief, and we can sense that they might say, yeah, of course, people first. But it's not real, it's not genuine, it's not authentic. They haven't sort of paid their dues to get to a place where they've actually learned that, people are the most important thing. Because nobody sits on their deathbed and thinks, man, if I could have just made more money. They think of their relationships, they think of their time and how well it was spent. So it's all about relationships, it's all about people. And as long as you keep your discovery of that person or that prospective client or candidate or friend or future spouse, again, it applies to anything. If you keep it in that who space and that core value space, we talk about something, we kind of do it as a hashtag, but it's true to who. Just be true to who. So you're absolutely right that people are craving for something real, and especially in a world where things are becoming so difficult to discern. There's this big push for AI, and I think about that and I'm like, well, look at the words. Like, why would you want artificial intelligence? So we talk about something we call authentic intelligence. It's AI, but it's a very different meaning. Let's look for authentic intelligence, not some artificial fabricated form of it. This layering of discovery as an individual, as a person, but also collectively as a society, almost a collective conscience of sorts. So the outer ring of this golden circle, what we talked about as the what, is where a lot of people get lost. They get lost in the what's, the tangibles, the neocortex, the logical aspect of their business or their life. And I think as a society, especially here in America, over the past decade since the crash of the economy, people have really looked at the why. Why am I here? What's my purpose? Why am I doing this? Well, why? What we believe and what I believe is that there's something deeper, something more anchored that really is what influences that why. So essentially what we've looked at is leading with who in everything that we do and saying, is this really aligned with who I am? Because as great as the reason for it, the mission for it, the why for it, it can be very strong, it can be very noble, it can be altruistic. Does it really create an authentic experience within yourself for who you are, and then within the people around you? Because people can sense that if you're just doing something that, yeah, maybe it's a great cause, but it's not really who you are. So that's really what we've been massaging, and we've built our entire company around this belief and this concept. And when you lead with who, now life becomes so enjoyable, because you're really only looking for your who's. You're only looking for the customers, the clients that align with you. You're only looking for the candidates, the employees to work at your company that align with you, and not just based on the outer things, not that at all. In fact, it's the core values of who you are, your belief systems, your philosophies. So yeah, that's really what it is. And then what you do is you work your way through those layers, you anchor it, and you really get in touch with who you are. Then you work your way back out and say, okay, this is who I am. Now, why do I exist? Why does my company exist? Why does my organization exist? Why does my church, my nonprofit, this country? I mean, you can apply this to anything. And then from there, you can start to build what's. But if you don't build what's that are aligned with why's and who's, it's gonna be lackluster. It's gonna fall flat. So few organizations I've seen really key in on who they're attracting. Instead, they're often looking for people that need what they provide, even if that's a job. This is what we provide. We provide a salary, we provide benefits, we provide, an opportunity for you to do what you went to school for. But again, back to leading with who, people want to feel that you care about them as a person, then what they can bring to the table. So in building a team, building an organization, and just to speak personally, we now have over 50 employees in 9 states, over 100 clients, and this has all been over the past 18 months. And it's because we lead with who. So all of our clients align with who we are. And then sometimes clients don't, and we try to learn that, prospects don't before they become clients. And we try to sniff that out and sort that out early in the process, so we're not wasting their time and we're not wasting our own. And what's really important about it, just to land the plane on that thought, is that it's not about you. So it would seem like, okay, define who you are and then just find people that are like you. Sure, but it's also a respect for who they are. Don't waste that person's time, right? You could hire somebody and they might stick around for a paycheck for 3 years, when really deep in their core, it was never a good fit. But they had to pay the bills, they didn't want to disappoint. Well, that person can't get those 3 years back, nor can you. So if you can really come from this position and this place, the world is just a better place altogether. So it absolutely applies to team building, to recruiting, and to give you just a quick example, one of our new employees at My Core, what we call executives, one of our new executives, I asked her, I said, tell me what your recruiting experience was like prior to this experience with our company. And she said, just every company I've ever applied to, they really just were interested in what I could do for them. But I sense this organization that you guys really only care about who I am. And I said, yeah, we're trying to see if you should be on the bus. We'll figure out what seat on the bus you can fit in. It absolutely applies to team building, probably even more so than anything else. The one piece of advice that I would say, if I had to boil it down to 3 words, is lead with who. In everything that you do, when you show up into a space, just bring who you are into it, and then allow everything to grow from that. In your branding, in your messaging, in your systems, in your processes, in your recruiting, in your onboarding, in your training, in your goal setting. I mean, everything, you have to put it through a filter. Is this true to who I am? Because you're simply not going to get it. You're not going to be able to harness enough energy. This is actually quite practical. It's not as hooey as you might think, because it takes a lot of energy to build a business. It takes a lot of energy to build a brand. And if you aren't tapping into a part of you that is infinite and endless, and that's just a vast, deep well, you'll just dry up. And you might go 10 years, you might go $10 million, you might go $10 billion, but at some point you're gonna crash. And if you watch people and they kind of go off the deep end, it's because they didn't lead with who. They started somewhere in the what, and then now they're trying to find themselves, and their business falls apart, their family falls apart. So if you can get to a place where you can get grounded enough and centered enough early enough in the process before you have all this responsibility, do it now, especially for small business owners. Just get true to who and watch everything open up. And that's just my story, really, what's been happening for me. I wouldn't say happened, it's real time.